Ladies and gentlemen, football is in the air as the preseason kicks off this week. And thanks for joining us once again. You are tuned live to the Third and Long podcast. I am the incomparable Shane Harris, the new location from now on. Up above me is Oliver Butler Henderson. To my left is the teacher extraordinaire, Mr. Philip Perrins. And in the top right corner, my old buddy, our beautiful baby Hope. Gentlemen, how are we feeling on this wet and dreary Thursday evening?
I feel very weird because I'm in the wrong place.
I know. I don't like it. It threw me off momentarily. That's better. I'd much prefer baby on top of me, but that's another story.
Hey.
Honestly,
You got someone on top in the Shane?
Oh, hi. It's been a while.
I'm knackered this week. I've had a very long week.
Oh, yeah?
It's just been... I've been busy.
Come on, boys. Come on, let's get a bit more excitement. Football's back. Come on.
Yes.
It's a month today until the regular season starts.
Well, the first Sunday. Hand Mahomes' ass.
4 weeks.
Yeah, well, it's a month today until the first Sunday, and we get to hear those magic words. 7 hours of commercial-free football starts now.
Don Scott Hansen, I miss you so much.
He is our brethren, our God, our Saviour.
Our Lord and Saviour. Indeed he is.
One and only. Yeah,
dare I say our prophet?
Yeah. I'll take that one, mate. I'll take that all day long. Oh, gentlemen, it's so good to see you. As always, as we always do, we're here to entertain you on a Thursday night. Now I've done that bit. I can do that bit. So obviously we are... a few weeks away from the actual season. Preseason starts in 3.5 hours with my Patriots kicking off against the Carolina Panthers, and there is another game tonight. I can't remember who it is.
Toilet bowl. The Lions playing someone.
Toilet bowl.
You call them the Lions.
What's paying to watch that game?
But we do have a really good show tonight. Obviously, you might have noticed throughout the week we've had dropping our top 50. We're going to discuss our top 10, and I'll drop the video out tomorrow, so you'll see that as well after we drop the show live. And as always, we start, as always, with the news.
This is the news in 60.
As we start off, we had a couple of news break about a couple of hours ago before into football training tonight. Super Bowl winner and perennial backup quarterback Nick Foles has officially retired in the NFL. Let's face it, it's always going to be remembered for the Philly special. End of. So after the Dolphins paid Tua last week, they've restructured Tyreek Hill's contract. He now gets $65 million over the next 3 years and could potentially make $90 million. While we're on about the contracts, Kansas City's kicker Harrison Butker is got a bumping new contract worth $26.5 million, now making him the highest paid kicker in the league. The Saints, who I think we might have a special guest on later on, have extended linebacker Pete Warner to a 3-year deal worth $25 million with a guarantee.
He's not even the best linebacker with the name Warner, though, is he?
Yeah, look, we'll talk to Mickey Loomis later on in the show to see kind of like what I mean. Don't forget, when he's been on the show before, he seems a little bit like deluded with power. He loves spending other people's money. So we're kind of like, a year on from like him having like, Derek Carr in the house. Let's see his like his thought process about why he wants to extend his 6th round 2021 middle linebacker.
Yep. So joint practices start this week, obviously to start pre-season, and safe to say the Lions against the Giants aren't going to like each other, as they've both been fined $200,000 each for a large number of fights. It seemed to be every day I logged on to Twitter or the NFL Network, there's been another fight between the Lions and the Giants.
That's the other game tonight.
Yep. In a minute, Phil. The teams have dropped their first unofficial depth chart. Washington obviously making Jaden Daniels their starter. The Vikings have named Sam Darnold their starter. Bo Nix is going to be the 3rd string quarterback in Denver at the moment. Tennessee I've listed Tony Pollard and Spears as RB1. And the best one I've seen out of all these is generally in Las Vegas, they've put Aiden O'Connell or Gardner Minshew as QB1.
What? What?
I love that. Absolutely.
No, I don't. That's disgusting behaviour. Why do I have like the Brooklyn Brawler to go over Hulk Hogan? Come on.
Phil, you've patiently had your hand up, my friend.
Two things onto that is when we talk about like the Giants and the Lions, every year as they go into like the joint practices, there just seem to always be like two teams fighting it out. Like, you know, when we see like all these pitch side scrums, I think that's partially done with my little tinfoil hat here on by the NFL Network just to try and get some controversy, because controversy creates clicks generate views gets more eyes on the product. So I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of animosity between the two organizations, but at the same time, you know, it's a business, it's an entertainment business. They you know, the NFL Network news channel needs, you know, ESPN Sports Center needs, you know, something interesting to be going on other than, you know, just seeing passes being dropped or batted down or interceptions being thrown. I was watching like a couple of things earlier on in the week about the differences between Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew II. I always had the impression, I've watched interviews with Minshew, but like listening to like his teammates now in Oakland, in Vegas now talk about him, he gives off the vibes like he should be almost like in a 90s prog rock band. Like he feels like he should be in
Rush or something like that.
Like in Rush or Tool or hell, Nirvana. Like he seems like such a laid back kind of like with his slicked back headband, and like I've watched him talk now a couple of times, and he's just been like, you know, kind
Just
of
so
like
cool.
that. He's exactly, but not like the Nicky Six kind of like Motley Crue, that quarterback that we all think he is, and you know, rightfully we treat him like he is, like a rock god with a mustache.
It remind me
like,
of what's his name in Dazed and Confused.
Yeah. And the only reason why I say
You know what I
this,
mean,
and
don't
if you go back to watching like
I
a
think I'll
Mariners
hate.
game, and I remember that Michael Strahan said on the year that the Giants first won, you know, when they beat Tom Brady's New England Patriots, Michael Strahan said that out of all the quarterbacks that he had played with, Eli was the most frustrated, not because of ability, but because of how laid back he was. Like you couldn't get under his skin, you couldn't motivate him, you couldn't like rile him up. And even though I've seen him on the field now, Gardner Minshew, when I've watched him, and he has that ability to do that, but like I don't know, it just says something about his character that he could be so laid back all the time, and I think that's maybe why he might get some criticism as a professional. But like I know, I still believe in Minshew. I think he's played really well everywhere he's been, and I still think he'll walk out being QB1. I think if anything, he's going to be almost like a bridging quarterback this year, so the Raiders can get who they think they want in the draft next year. But he's going to be QB1, like pound for pound. He's going to be playing in the Super Bowl next year.
Danny Mack has said, "Evening lads, can't wait for the Lions tonight."
Yes, Danny, football's back. I can't wait either.
Ollie, you've patiently had your hand up, mate.
Okay, so I'm going to tell my 2 cents about the Minshew versus Aiden O'Connell thing. So you know I'm not the biggest fan of Gardner Minshew.
What? Yeah, I know.
I know.
Here's my opinion. I think Gardner Minshew has a higher floor, but I think Aiden O'Connell has a higher ceiling.
Ooh.
So if I
A
was
lower
Antonio,
floor, perhaps.
If I was Antonio, yeah, I think Aiden O'Connell does have a lower floor, but I think he has a
Makes more sense.
higher ceiling.
Okay.
So if I was Antonio Pierce, I'd probably start Aiden O'Connell and just see if he can develop in his second year. Because if he develops like Joe Burrow did in his second year, then they could have a starting quarterback on their hands. But if he develops like Trey Lance did in his second year, then maybe not.
I don't see Aiden O'Connell having it. That's my I agree with you to a point, and I really, really do. But like Joe Burrows has that, and I hate it, but like you kind of have to use this modern term with a lot of sports stars anyway, because it's true. He doesn't have that aura where like
dog
Joe
inside
Burrows. Yeah, well, yeah, like you look at like Joe Burrows, like you've used an example. He has that aura. Patrick Mahomes has that aura, that almost like fear factor that when you're playing them this weekend, you're
Tom Brady.
Oh yeah, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, like Aaron Rodgers, prime Rodgers, prime Drew Brees, prime Montana, prime Marino, where you go like, oh crap, we're playing against Mahomes and the Chiefs this weekend. We're playing against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in Lambeau this weekend. What we're gonna do? Like Aidan O'Connell has shown glimpses, but I think Minshew is the better game winner. I don't think Aidan O'Connell has, like you said, the dog in him, but I don't think he has the aura to carry that team, to be that face of an organization.
Do you think Minshew does that?
Yes.
Yes. For the Raiders, like, and I've said before, like when you think about like the prime players that have played for like the Raiders in the past, were like your Ted Hendricks, your Kenny Stablers, your was it Marcus Allen in like the 80s, like the Hall of Fame running back, 5 Mile Lyle Alzado, like they were characters that literally, it's like the Raiders want Looney Tunes to be on their sidelines. They do. It's like the whole thing about Al Davis was create a team of misfits and make them hated. And that's literally what the Raiders, like, if you go back and watch anything in the 70s and the early 80s, the Raiders were the most hated team in the NFL because they were just a bunch of misfits and characters. Gardner Minshew, like him or not, he fits that profile of what the Raiders have traditionally always been. Aidan O'Connell is very much a, like, I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but like he was the Giants quarterback that was like playing on his Italianness last year.
Tommy DeVito. Tommy Gabagool. Yeah.
And because he played into that, he got so much attention that he had a couple of good games, and the rest of them he was trash. And now we've completely forgot about it. I can't even remember his name. But like, at least you've got the Minshew. He has that character. He has that eccentricity. He does have an ability on the field. I think he's very middle of the pack, if I'm being very, very brutally honest about him. He's very like he's there. I think he's on par with a prime Jimmy Garoppolo in terms of like a game manager, but he has the charisma. But he has the charisma. But he has the charisma.
Let me put it to you like this.
Oh, gosh. Let
me put it to you like this. Sorry, Ollie, just 2 seconds. Phil, let me put it to you like this, right? When Vince looked to replace Hogan with Warrior, what happened?
We had a great WrestleMania 6, and Hogan didn't like the spotlight, so he was continuously overshadowing Warrior. And Warrior had a great match against Rick Rude at SummerSlam that year, in a steel cage match. I watched it this week. Thank you very much. So what are you talking about?
What I was going
bear in mind, you're using the wrong example, because I love the Warrior, and I love Macho Man Randy Savage, and I hate Hulk Hogan. The point
I'm making is right. They tried to replace Minshew with Aidan O'Connell. It's not going to happen. Minshew Mania is going to continue to run wild because, as you said, Aidan O'Connell is a middle-of-the-road meh quarterback. I don't see anything in him. I think Minshew, again, not just talent-wise, but aura-wise, but character-wise, but star power-wise.
I think a better example would be about like how Shawn Michaels in the 90s was brought in an elevator to replace Bret Hart because Bret Hart wasn't doing anything. So Shawn Michaels literally then went and carried the WWE to better lands. Without Shawn Michaels and his boyhood dream moment, we wouldn't have what the Attitude Era became. So I see it more as
we'll have that discussion together.
Gardner Minshew is Shawn Michaels, and Aidan is Bret Hart.
You're breaking my heart here.
I'm going to throw my 2 cents in.
Sorry, go on, Matt. You're all right.
Are you actually going to talk about American football here?
We have been talking about football. We're literally talking about football.
Right. Analogies.
I'm so glad I have an edit button. It's great. Right. Right. My 2 cents is, before we move on to Nick Foles, is that Aidan O'Connell, from what I've seen for next year's quarterbacks, is better than the rookie quarterbacks that are coming next season.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Gardner hangs around in Las Vegas 2-3 seasons. Mm-hmm. And I reckon it'll be right. I don't know who's going to be in the draft for 2026, but 2025 quarterbacks aren't looking that good, aren't looking that special at the moment. This was meant to be the draft class that you take a quarterback, like it was in 2021. So I can see Gardner Minshew hang around a couple of seasons. Like you said, Phil, he is a Raider player in the making.
Yeah.
That personality, that persona, that aura that you said, he fits Las Vegas. He fits what the Raiders do. back in the 80s, back in the 90s, when they were almost like the Wimbledon crazy gang.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's a great metaphor.
He fits in that really, really well.
And can somebody explain that metaphor to me, please?
Sorry. So the crazy gang, like, have you heard of the actor Vinnie Jones?
The actor.
Yeah,
Oh, Jesus.
I know he
Christ.
was a footballer beforehand.
Okay, so like
Welsh footballer.
Wimbledon, the crazy gang was just like the Raiders of old, but like from the 80s and the 90s, where they were just literally just assembled thugs of football. Vinnie Jones, Dennis Wise,
Ben Thatcher.
yeah, and
Paul Gascoigne.
literally,
Vinnie Jones had a very good feel of Paul Gascoigne.
I know,
He did.
I know. He literally grabbed him with one hand as well, so it says more about Gaza than anything else. And this Wimbledon side, they were very, very popular because they were like blue chip, like they were almost like they played the football of the common man, and they beat Liverpool in the FA
Yes, they
Cup
did.
final.
Yeah.
And that was huge because again, we don't really get upsets like that in cup finals. I think the last one that we probably had was Wigan, like over a decade ago now.
Ben Watson with a header.
So like Wimbledon beating the European champions, or the former European champions until they ruined it for all of English football.
Careful now.
But like they toppled them, and they literally just lived off that reputation of being the crazy gang, the thugs, the loony bins, like all this kind of people. Like if your career was literally almost done, you would go to Wimbledon because Wimbledon would give you a second, third, fourth, fifth chance. Now, ultimately, that cycle doesn't do well, and Wimbledon ended up going down and then disappearing and turning into the MK Dons, and now being a completely different entity because it doesn't even resemble Wimbledon from where I remember it in the late 90s before they got relegated. So, yeah, I agree with your initial point there, Hendo, because he's very much a Raiders player, and again, if you're a professional athlete and you're not driven by rings, and we'll come on to being driven by money versus driven by success, Vegas, or Nevada, I should say, is a tax haven. And if you're a NFL footballer, and this is the thing with Brandon Ayuk, California has a 50% tax rate. So even if he gets paid what he wants, he's only going to get half of what he wants, essentially. Vegas,
New England offered him 32 million a year.
Yeah.
With Massachusetts tax, which is almost as high as California, he would have got 20 million for that year.
Yeah, and the same with in California. If he wanted that 26 that was initially put on the table for him, he'd only get 13. Whilst in Nevada, it's tax haven, and obviously if you're a professional athlete and you play professional sports and you're in the union, you would still get healthcare with that anyway. So I don't see why why he would want to leave, because the Raiders are in a rebuilding phase. He's been through numerous rebuilding sides, from whether or not it be in Jacksonville, Indianapolis. Was he in Carolina?
No.
He's only played for 3 teams.
Yeah, sure is. Jacksonville, Indianapolis. No. Oh no! I think
no. He was at the Eagles. He was at the Eagles. Yeah, because he sat behind Jalen Hurts for a year.
That's right.
That was there. So
he went to Super Bowl with them, didn't he?
Yes,
that's right.
Minshew nearly had more rings than Dan Marino. Keep that in mind.
How cool would that be?
How sick would that be? Oh my God, he'd have the same amount of rings as Trent Dilfer. Which, by the way,
I knew you'd say that.
Which, by the way, none of you acknowledged the fact that I went through over 2 decades of NFL ratings to find Trent Dilfer's Madden ratings from 1990.
It says more about yourself than it does about us, I think.
Right.
What about your free time when you're off school?
Sorry. Go on.
Right, let's roll on to Nick Foles, who, let's be honest, he's going to be known as the backup who won the Super Bowl for Philadelphia.
Yes.
With the Philly special. He's hung up his cleats. He's had enough. 11 years, albeit a fairly successful one, as it is a perennial backup. What are you making of his career? What do you feel of it about it?
I think
wants to reply.
It was.
I was going to.
I think with Nick Foles is, I think history, fan perspective of his career will be very kind on him, because This is a Philadelphia side that had never, ever, ever, ever won the Super Bowl. And they have had some talented rosters in their lifetimes. And they've currently got a very talented roster now with Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts, you could probably argue, and we have argued, he is one of the top tier quarterbacks in the NFL. But Nick Foles has a Super Bowl and played in the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. Didn't he not get MVP that year as well?
MVP, yep. Super Bowl MVP.
So, I think he did, you know. He did.
When you take a step back, is he Hall of Fame worthy? Probably not. But I think in Philadelphia, as his career, as time looks fondly upon his career, he literally can introduce himself as Super Bowl winning MVP Nick Foles.
Yeah.
As an African speaker.
And I think that does it. I mean, he's not going to get his bust in Canton. His career is not of that level. Like, he's not. We're not going to entertain the idea of him being a Hall of Famer because he's not. I don't think he is a Hall of Fame player.
No, I completely agree.
What we can't take away from him is that statistic: Super Bowl winning MVP Nick Foles, and I think we have to commend him on that.
Equals the record. No, he has the NFL record of the touchdown pass in the game, 7 touchdown passes in the game. That was for Philadelphia. I think that was his second start when Carson Wentz went down. Carson Wentz was having an unbelievable season.
Yes.
Unbelievable season. And he went down. And all Philadelphia thought, fuck, our season's done. That's it, we're done. Nick Foles, yes, had his first game was a bit iffy, and they lost, but then he never looked back. The next 7-8 games, he was playing at a league standard MVP level. He was brilliant, absolutely brilliant that season. And to be fair, yes, it was against us, and yes, the Philly special really pissed me off. But he played incredibly well down the stretch and took Philadelphia to the promised land, which was something they had never won.
Yes.
They're probably going to have a statue of him next to the bloody Rocky statue.
They do have a statue of him.
Like Nick Foles in Philadelphia.
Yeah, they have him. They have him and Doug Peterson calling the Philly special.
Really?
Yeah, Google it.
Wow.
I need to see this. Sorry, I will have a look. Hold on. Nick Foles statue, Philadelphia.
Oh, this is interesting. Look at his Wikipedia. He played high school football with a certain Baltimore Ravens kicker.
Did he really? Oh, with JT, That's awesome. And it's a crime that JT is not going to be the highest paid kicker in the league. But don't get me wrong, he's due to get paid next year, and I can imagine he'd be the highest paid before long.
Well, let's face it. Harrison Butker's probably pretty happy with his new contract now. His wife doesn't need to work.
Yes.
Not that I agree with Harrison Butker's.
Not getting involved.
Right. Let's face it. Speech aside, we'll segue round that one. He is an outstanding kicker.
Oh yeah.
I think I've referred to him on this podcast a few times as Buck Kicker a couple of seasons ago.
That's clever. I haven't heard that before. It's really good.
I think it was a couple of seasons ago now.
He's made the longest Super Bowl in Super Bowl history, longest kick Super Bowl history.
Made the longest Super Bowl.
Yeah. Career NFL goals in Super Bowl 9.
Chris, question for next week. What was the longest Super Bowl ever?
Yeah.
The Pats and Rams one felt like the longest Super Bowl ever.
I'll tell you what. Yeah. He's made 197 field goals, from 121 attempts. He's got an 89.1% record. His longest yard attempt or longest conversion is 62 yards. Especially in Arrowhead, in the winter when it's incredibly cold, you can't really get your footing on there because it's frozen ground. It is impressive, and he very rarely misses. When it's in a warmer state and it's in a dome, he very rarely misses. Most of his misses are in Kansas or are in Arrowhead, where it's higher and it's colder, and it's not good. That I think he's worth it. He was selected by Carolina. I bet they may wish they never got rid of him now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Panero's not a bad kicker.
True.
Are you going to wrap up the news in 60, or is it going to be the news in 25 minutes this week?
I didn't ready to say the news at 60. It's fine. We just carry on talking. About the second.
If anything, it's just the news.
It is,
the news podcast.
Yeah, because parents have had a kind of Red Bull this evening or something. Jesus.
Pro Plus, mate. Pro Plus, and my D.
Pro Plus,
and including the little blue pill.
Oh no!
I have a minute now.
I wouldn't know anything about that, mate. To be fair,
not this young virile son of a gun.
Absolutely
right.
Not.
Let's talk about Tyreek Hill's contract. He's NFL players #1 player of the year. He was leading. He's led most years in yards reception, yards after catch, touchdown numbers. I can't remember his original contract. I couldn't find his original numbers up. And I think 65 million over 3 years is absolute steal compared to some of these players that got paid of like 40 million, 35, 38 million.
65 million. That's nearly
over
as many
3 years.
Yeah, that's nearly as many kids as he has.
Because we ask a question. All that money he's got, how much is going to be paid in CSA?
Jesus Christ! Yeah, that's why he's having to literally fall out, because he's like going, Jesus Christ, I can't afford to have a bad season.
Yeah, don't drop that ball for God's sake. My kids won't eat.
Yeah. God, imagine what happens if he's injured.
Oh my God! No, because
if
he's injured, that means he's not on the playing field more, which gives him more opportunities to get more impressionable women in Miami.
Don't get involved. This is the shark. Is the shark tank of the subject? Don't get involved. I pray you never have to know.
Right. So yeah, do you think he's been underpaid?
No.
I think he's been paid.
Fair enough.
I don't
know.
I think he's been paid. I think he has negotiated what he thinks he is worth. The Dolphins have agreed that they are paying him as much as he thinks and as much as they think he is worth. And again, because this was over and done very, very quickly, I think it's very, very smart from Tyreek Hill's point of view to make sure that he gets paid after he gets the #1 position, because that gives him some leverage in the court of public opinion. Like, what are you doing underpaying the #1 player in the NFL this season? He's the best player in the it's little things like that actually do mean quite a lot, especially like in negotiating. And like, he's not the highest paid receiver, is he?
Not even close.
Yeah. So I think that's possibly either a maturity on his level, but also a team-friendly deal.
Yeah.
Because this is where we're finding a lot of these contending teams, and this is why, like, the Bills, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Niners, even the Cowboys to a degree, and I think that the Lions are getting there as well, where a lot of their top players are taking team-friendly deals because they want to get paid, but they also want to win. Like, you kind of like almost have that 3 kind of like doors to pick from when you're an athlete in the NFL. Do I want to win? Okay. Do I want to get paid? Okay. Do I want to do both? And that's your third option. I think Tyreek Hill, he wants to get paid, but he wants to win. Like, this is a team that hasn't been to the Super Bowl in over 20 years. Like, this is a team that hasn't done anything since the mid-'80s. This is a team that hasn't won the Super Bowl since the mid-'70s. So, this is like a sleeping giant in that traditional NFL route. And they have a great team. And Josh McDaniels is a great coach. And I think this is just a really, really good deal. A really good deal.
Maybe up in the corner.
I was just going to say, I think that might be the sticking point with Ayuk. In the Niners want him to take a team-friendly deal.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to take a team-friendly deal.
Yeah.
And
this is going to be your issue in the next year and 2. You've got a lot of players that need paying.
Yeah.
But from what we've seen already, not comparing to the 49ers, or actually, no, since we're talking about Brandon Ayuk now, we have seen players on the organization already that have taken pay cuts or renegotiated, like Kittle did, Juice did, CMC did and didn't, Fred Warner has.
I think Travaris Ward did.
Yeah, Travaris Ward has. So we've got these superstars, but we've got these elite players that, again, want to get paid but also want to win. Travaris Ward has already won a Super Bowl. Obviously, he wants to win another. So it's kind of like that in San Francisco. I don't think Brandon Ayuk is coming out of this looking particularly well. Again, I don't know if you remember this, baby, but do you remember a couple of years ago where Shanahan put him in the doghouse for about a month
I
and
do.
didn't play him purely because of his attitude? And so he has had issues now we thought we got past this, but again, this is just detrimental to his own season because, again, talking about it on Andy's pod, the last 2 years, last year as Nick Bosa, he sat out the entirety of preseason, comes back, he's not in game shape, and he was so slow getting up to speed as the season started and progressed. And you could probably argue,
if I recall, he didn't get a sack until the third game.
Yeah, and you could probably argue that he didn't actually play at his previous couple of years levels anyway. The year before that, Deebo Samuel sat out, missed the entirety of preseason. He was so out of he's a big unit anyway, but he was so out of shape and so out of game shape going into the season, and he gets hit with injuries as well. Like, he will have sporadic time off, and we're seeing at this moment in time with Brandon Ayuk, the whole thing revolving that, and then we're seeing a little bit with Trent Williams. Trent Williams doesn't really concern me that much because I think if anything, he does need the rest because he is such a pivotal part of our team, and he gets injured so easily because of how old he is, because of how much he's used, because he is that just force of nature. So I think Trent will get what he wants, and I think the 49ers will concede to that. But decent wide receivers are a dime a dozen. Like, I think Ricky Pearsall is going to be really good. I know he's going to miss preseason, and I know CMC is going to miss preseason as well. But like, I'm really, really high on Ricky Pearsall from what I've seen, from looking at his college tape, from what I've heard from him in training camp. And Deebo's playing well, Jawan's playing well. I know that we've cut Terrell Owens' lads. He's been cut from the team completely. I'm not surprised. I thought he might feature in one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you saw today, but we signed Chosen Anderson.
Yes, and again, I hope we're signing 2020 version of him because he was good then. He hasn't been good in 4 years. So I don't know whether that is a body. I don't know whether that is just there to intimidate Brendan Ayuk, saying you are replaceable.
Really quick before I go to Shane, because I know he's in his
sorry.
Other players that are missing out preseason, CD Lamb.
Yes.
Another one is Matthew Jordan trains when he wants to train, which is fair. You know, you said about he's missed it on a Wednesday. Well, Wednesday's Veteran Day anyway. They don't train on a Wednesday, even pre-season, so it doesn't bother me. Yeah. But there are players who are wanting to get paid who are missing because of it, and you're going to see them struggle because of it. Shane.
I was just going to say, and this episode of the Niners Pod is brought to you by Muller Crunch Corner and Pro Plus, apparently.
Right. Let's roll on to our top 50. You've seen that we've dropped our videos throughout the week. It'd be far too long to make. But yeah,
excellent job. That was an excellent job.
Thank you very much. So they've been rolling throughout the week. You know, we've got a couple of surprises in there. No, like the proper NFL one, which Shane knows very well about. There's no Patriot players in there.
Couldn't help yourself, could you?
You know, but there are a couple of players in there. Like, you know, we've got a couple of ones in there, you know, that I think are a little bit out there. Like, I don't think Dak Prescott should have been in there personally.
I don't think I put Dak in mine. Like, I might be wrong, but let me get mine up as well that I sent you a while ago. Because
you didn't put Dak in there.
No, because he doesn't bloody deserve it. No, I put one Patriot on there.
There's only one person who put it in there, and that's the NFL. I mean, Shane, sorry.
Sorry, I remember this. It's fine. I remember this. Don't worry about it. Next time everybody else decides to not as much evident in the pod as I do, we'll remember this. Go on.
Right, it's fine. Right. So the way we sorted it is we all four of us put our choices in.
Well, all three of us did.
No, to be fair, Shane did swap as well.
Well, we've kicked him. We've kicked him while he's down. Let's move on. Come on.
Yeah, it's enough now. We've given him a bit of ribbing. It's allowed to be given. So what we've done is we've got in total between the four of us there was 76 players total. So we worked out as an average, and if they came to the same average, for example, Dron Bland and CJ Stroud, the person with the highest pick, basically, or the lowest number was the number seed. So Dron Bland 29 because he had 13. CJ Stroud's highest position was 14. So that's how it's worked. Okay. So our top 10, there's no videos because I've had no chance to sort it. I've had an incredibly busy week. We did Kansas City Chiefs. Chris Jones was at number 10.
Yeah, he was my 10.
He was, he was. Shane had him at 6. Me and Ollie had him at 18 and 19.
Ooh.
How come you had him in your top 10 too, gentlemen?
I actually think almost like pound for pound, he is one of the best interior linemen in the NFL. I don't think, because I'm just looking at who I put in. I think he is on my. Oh, actually, no, I put him above Max Crosby as well. So he is my highest rated defensive line player, and he's just such on that Kansas City defense. I don't think there are as many weapons, but I just think that Chris Jones is just phenomenal. Like, I think he is literally the best in that position, and he would terrify me if I was playing against that, and he will terrify me when the 49ers play against him this season twice. So yeah, that's why I just think he's the best in his position.
Trader?
A person like that is a game changer. You saw when he sat out last year for a couple of games that the Chiefs didn't look like the same team, and he sat on the bench as well because he wanted to get paid, and he did, and deservedly so. He's an incredible incredible addition to the Chiefs defense as well. I think he's great, but in all honesty, I'm a big fan of the next player as well. But we can move on to that one momentarily.
So yeah, in 9th we had Max Crosby. 3 of us had him in our top 10. Mr. Perrins, you didn't have him in your top 10.
Yeah,
What?
I mean, when all right, hear me out, because I'm literally just going through my list now because you can't see it, but trust me, I am. I was just looking at like his positions, and I mean, he is also like the reigning defense. No, wait, is he the reigning defensive MVP? No. Who was it?
Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett.
Myles, yeah.
Oh, wait, he is in my. Yeah, he okay. So Max Crosby played exceptionally well in a poor Raiders defense last year, and again, Max Crosby is another one in that Minshew kind of category where he is a character. Like, he is a ginger tattooed lad with a do-rag who smokes cigars and talks like he's from Oakland. Like, seriously, he is again another prototype example of what the Raiders want in their team. And I had him at 16 purely because I do think that there are, again, I've got Myles Garrett as well, I've got Chris Jones, I've got Nick Bosa, I've got Max Crosby. So I just think out of those 4, he just comes up 4th place. Again, which sounds horrible that I don't rate him. I do. I just think he's the 4th best out of them.
I would have thought he'd been higher. I thought he would be one of your top 5 players at least. Because you're a big fan of Max Crosby.
I had Crosby at 10. I know that.
Yeah. I had him at 8. Shane, you had him at 10.
9.
So let's roll on to our number 8 player in the league that we voted for between ourselves, and is Justin Jefferson.
Yes.
3 of us had him in the top 8. One of us, Shane, you had him at 17.
It's the players that spoke for me, not for this one, because in all honesty, and I'll put it as it is, right? This is a shoot, brother. I'll put it as it is. I don't feel confident enough to adequately rank 50 players in the NFL, right? I mean, I could do it on favoritism alone, obviously, but this came from how good he is in the eyes of his peers. So yeah, I think 17 is an accurate description. And the fact, I'm just really excited about the fact that I'm going to see him play this year, and that's amazing. That's why I bought the tickets to see JJ, basically. Yeah, to see him. I'm not an NFL encyclopedia. I come on here because like I'm fun with my friends and talking about a sport I'm passionate about. But in no way, shape, or form am I an encyclopedia. So yeah, as I said, if the players rank him as 17, yeah, then obviously they're far more informed than I am.
I mean, let's not forget he did have an injury hit season last season, so I think that did impact his ranking.
Also, like if we think about like the NFL in that terms of that wide receiver position, there's only really currently 3, maybe 4, if you argue a fit Deebo Samuel, game-changing wide receivers, and one of them is Justin Jefferson. I'm sure we'll talk about the other 2 when they come out.
St. Brown.
Oh, I wouldn't say no.
Chase?
No. Like in terms of elite, I would say it goes number 1, Tyreek, number 2, JJ, number 3, CD, and then if we're going to include it, Debo. Like because of just how dual threat he is. But like that game, I think Amon St. Brown will become one of those game changer wide receivers, but like he's still very young. We're talking about like in their prime type players, and I just think JJ is one of those few game changing wide receivers that, again, certain players that are certain positions, that are so linked to the organizations that they're at. Let's think quickly off the top of our heads, gents. 2 wide receivers that are famous for playing in Minnesota.
One, Randy Moss.
One of them's Randy Moss. Ding, ding, ding. Who's the other one? Another Hall of Famer.
Adam Thielen? No, he's not a Hall of Famer.
No, not a Hall of Famer. Chris Carter. Okay.
Chris Carter, of course. Chris Carter.
So again, quality game-changing wide receivers are what Minnesota have always had. So it kind of fits that like I said before, team identities and the players that they draft. And JJ is one of those. He just needs that quarterback to get him the ball, which he did have for a little bit. And then depending on the day or time or how he's feeling that morning, Kirk Cousins could pass the ball.
Right. Into the 7th place, the highest ranked lineman. I think it only feels right that you two gentlemen talk about him, and it is Trent Williams, the 49ers left tackle.
Well, Phil, do you want to go first or shall I?
Yeah, so I had him at 5th overall on mine. He is just imperative to that 49ers offense. We talked about on Andy's podcast last night across the pod where we talked about the 49ers, and we can talk about like the stacked players that Brock Purdy has to pass the ball off to, from CMC to George Kittle to Ayuk to Debo to Juwan. Like he has so many weapons, but the reason why he has so much time in that pocket is because his blind side is protected by Trent Williams, future Hall of Famer. I just wish we could win that Super Bowl for him, Trent Williams, because he is so good at what he does. Yes, he's coming towards the end of his career. Yes, he's in his mid to late 30s. Yes, he's broken down. Yes, he's not what he was 5 years ago, let alone 10 years ago. But he is still so imperative. And the fact that he is at this point in his career and he's still the best player in his position speaks volumes about how important he is to the 49ers.
So, yeah, I just back onto that. I had Trent at 6. A big part of that is, as Ollie was talking about earlier on the chat, value to the team. He is so valuable to the 49ers.
Yeah.
As protecting Purdy's blind side and allowing Purdy time to, well, a lot of people think he just dinks and dunks it, but I disagree with that. So he gives Purdy time to throw the ball deep to the receivers.
Cool. In number 6, I'm going to let Shane and Phil argue this out because Shane had him at number 1 and Phil had it at number 11, and it is Lamar Jackson.
I'm not talking about Lamar.
Shane,
So let me ask a question first. You know these NFL top 100 lists, yeah? Do we get one every preseason?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Just checking. That's all. Because obviously, the player that I voted for number 1 and that Phil voted number 11, it came out as an average of number 6 overall, was the MVP of the whole entire league last season, as voted for by his peers. Once again, number 8 for the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson.
That's not votes for MVP. That's not votes for MVP.
Anyway, so. And it doesn't matter that he couldn't do it in the playoffs or anything like that. I get what happened after we went out. That's fine. I get it. But he also made it to the AFC Championship game, which is 1 game away from the Super Bowl. So, yeah, I completely stand by my pick. I mean, even if Purdy wins MVP next year, he's got to be considered the best player in the league because they basically said that. You can't argue. The numbers don't lie. Go on, Phil.
This isn't Lamar Jackson from a couple of years ago when he was one of the best players, in fact, the best player in the NFL. Has he ever been number 1 overall before, like by the NFL?
Yeah, I think he was. Was he not? Was he not his first MVP year?
Second. This is his second MVP year. 2019 was his first.
Yeah, but I think that year he did get number 1 in the NFL Top 100.
I mean, the only thing why I'm not as high on and this, I included him 11th overall. You put him as 1 number all, but like going off of last season, because that's essentially why this list happened, isn't it? It's how that last season progresses, and I don't think Lamar earned it. Like, he was injured for quite a big portion, and it took him a while to get back into the game. Now, even when we watched, I know he was injured for a few games, wasn't he?
In all honesty, memory's not what it used to be, but I don't think he was.
I think, he did.
I mean, and even when we saw them play at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and I was sitting next to Hendo, so he can agree with me there. Even though the Ravens won, they didn't win because of Lamar. Like it was like it almost felt like they were winning. They won in spite of like Lamar, because there was a couple of times where Lamar was in great positions that he just couldn't get the job done. Now, whether or not that is in a game, or whether or not that is when the game actually matters in the playoffs or a championship game, Lamar isn't getting it done when it matters. So I hope he comes back and bounces, because Jesus Christ, the AFC needs someone like Lamar Jackson to literally bring the heat to Kansas. Like, I am so praying for a Kansas City Chiefs downfall this season that it's not funny.
And we all
I like, considering that there is so much talent in that division, from Lamar, Josh Allen, Burrows, Herbert, for those who actually care about the Chargers. Like, there is some quality. Justin Fields when he gets the keys in Pittsburgh. Like, there's so much, and I just can't. I just really want Lamar from 3-4 years ago to come back, but I don't think Lamar from 3 or 4 years ago is there anymore. I think he's moved on. I think Father Time has taken him under his wing.
Ollie, before we go on to number 5.
So I think Lamar did play at a high level last year, but I don't think he played at the highest level. I just think he's played solidly at the high level. Purdy had a few bad games. Dak had a few bad games, and they're not going to give it to a non-quarterback.
Yeah.
So, and also, the reason I didn't put Lamar higher than 5 was he didn't get it done in the playoffs.
One game, one drop pass. That's all it was. It wasn't even his fault.
Yeah, he only won one game.
Okay. We didn't.
Shane, right. If you look at, let's compare him to Mahomes. I know it's because they are similar. Mahomes will take a game and run with it and control it and make sure it's on his shoulders. Lamar didn't do that in that game. This is what we're going on about. Great regular season player. And we could talk about all these players are great regular season players who win MVPs. How many of them have gone on to win Super Bowl MVPs? How many of them have gone on to win the Super Bowl? How many have gone and won multiple games? Matt Stafford's got an MVP, I'm sure he has, or had a great regular season when in Detroit and nothing failed. It's only when he went to LA that he's done something. But there's players that are great quarterbacks, regular season do so well. Dak Prescott's one of them. He's a great regular season quarterback, but what's he done in the playoffs? We joke with you that Lamar he's a bottler. He does it. Josh Allen's another one. He'll take it and do so well in the regular season. But what's he done in the postseason? This is what we're going on about. Until he goes, right, at least gets to a Super Bowl, and then we go, yeah, okay, he can do it in the regular season, in the postseason as well as the regular season. This is why I go on about, like, he's not done it. We're lucky with the likes of, we've watched Brady, we've watched Manning, we've now watched bloody Travis Kelce. These regular players who regularly go deep into the playoffs, not because of the rosters they have, because crying out, Kansas had one of the worst rosters in the season last year. They still don't win the Super Bowl, but they do it regular.
Yeah.
And it is purely because of the quarterbacks. That's why these are quarterback winners. They're the ones where they get paid so high. Right. Number 5. Mr. Pittsburgh himself, TJ Watt. We basically all had him in the top 8. Ollie, you had him at 7.
Yes. Not a knock on TJ Watt, but he didn't have his best season, in my opinion. obviously has he won Defensive Player of the Year twice?
Yep.
And obviously Miles Garrett beat him to Defensive Player of the Year this season, whether we agree with that or not. So I had to put him higher. And I just think TJ Watt has had better seasons. So putting him in the top 5 probably wasn't correct. Keiko just came in saying, in Shane's defence, a certain special midfielder in real football never won the Premier League, but is widely regarded as maybe the best there's been in the English leagues.
What, Rob Lee?
What?
I agree.
Rob Lee.
You're about a certain he slipped and let Demba Ba run in for a tapping against.
Oh wait, are we not talking about JJ Okocha?
I thought we were talking about Kevin Nolan.
He was your guy. Stelios.
Right. Let's roll on to number 4. So not only did he beat into Defensive Player of the Year, he's also beaten to a higher spot in the league. It is the gentleman who said he was going to make everyone's lives hell, who wasn't picked at number 1. It is Myles Garrett, Cleveland Browns' extraordinary defensive rock unit. Just keep him in a helmet away from Mason Rudolph.
That's not funny, but it is.
It's funny.
We all had him at 5, apart from Mr. Perringer had him at 7.
I had him at 4.
You had him at 4. Shane had him at 5. There or thereabouts, wasn't it? You know, he is a great unit. He's always up there with sacks, even if he's double, even triple teamed. I can't get that image of him slapping the head of bloody Mason Rudolph with that helmet now. It's ridiculous.
Somebody just came up saying, tagged us all, saying, "What's up from across the pond, guys? Enjoy football. It's back, baby. Go Ravens, of course."
Let's go,
yes,
Don C.
One of us.
Is that Don Callis?
I'd be cool if it was.
Oh, mate. Right. Number 3. He is voted number 1 by his peers, but we have put him at number 3. Shane, why have you got him as the 3rd player in the league?
I think it's more subjective than anything else. I mean, let's have a little look. I think the fact that, he's an incredible player for the Dolphins and we've already sort of mentioned that he's been paid. But I think he's on the downside now. He's the wrong side of 30. He's got like 45 kids. So they've got to be keeping him on his toes as well. He's got a lot more to think about just than matters on the field. And that is Tyreek Hill. Sorry, pronouns, pal. But I still think he's probably the best wide receiver in the league, but 100% the quickest. Even with that Xavier Worthy guy roaming the field now as well. I think he's probably pound for pound the best wide receiver in the league. But he's on the wrong side of 30, and that's why I had a problem with the NFL putting him as number 1. I think he's elite, but also there's better players at other positions better than him.
Something that Mahomes has come out this week, and I've seen it on NFL UK, that is Lewis Reese Lightning is quicker than Tyreek Hill.
I can't wait to see him.
Ooh. So we'll see him this week. He will play some kind of preseason game this weekend. So Patrick Mahomes, who we have got at number 2, has said Lewis Reese Lightning is quicker than Tyreek Hill. Wow. So we all had him at 2 or 1. I had him at 1. Ollie Phil had him at number 2. I mean, it's obvious who they put at number 1. But it's Patrick Mahomes. Shane, you had him at 4, so you had him the lowest one. I mean, this guy took this team to the Super Bowl with New England Patriots star wide receivers.
It was very much a patchwork quilt of wide receivers. This is probably the worst Chiefs team we've seen in quite some time. Even they managed to drag the Lombardi back to Kansas. I mean, even though they had Taylor Swift's boyfriend and tight end, who is, okay, fine, I'll say it, probably the best tight end in the last 5 years since Gronk knocked it on the head. But in all honesty, it's getting boring now. Like Phil said, we hope somebody can knock them off their perch, and it's just getting boring. So I wanted to shake it up a little bit. I mean, as I said, the list is from his peers in the NFL, and I'm just happy that he's not the top of the tree again. I want to see someone different. And in all honesty, as much as we give the Niners boys a lot of shit on the show for their unbelievable blind bias towards those lot, I unanimously agree with the first choice pick.
Fair enough. And the first point pick is Christian McCaffrey. I'm going to let you boys talk about him.
I mean, he won Offensive Player of the Year. In my opinion, he should have won MVP. But that's by the by. But I mean, he had over 2,000 yards from scrimmage. He scored, what's it? I can't remember how many touchdowns he scored, but it was getting on for 20. And he was, in my opinion, far and away the best player last season. And I'm just sad that we couldn't get the Super Bowl for him.
Yeah. He was literally eating up records. Like when he had he was going on for that touchdown record for most consecutive touchdowns in a game. He literally ran for over he got over 1,000 yards, didn't he? Like for the season.
Yeah.
Like if we're thinking like pound for pound, like we talk about like Trent Williams being important to that offense. The second most important person on that offense is Christian McCaffrey. He is phenomenal, considering that we've kept him more or less injury free since trading for him for the Panthers, which in hindsight for peanuts essentially, because in a year's and a half time, we've got to the Super Bowl again, and he's offensive MVP, which he hadn't previously done when he was at the Panthers. So he is so imperative to that West Coast run style, because it's not just that, he can also receive. He also played quarterback in high school. So like he's such a multifaceted weapon for that 49ers offense that, Tyreek Hill is a great player, Patrick Mahomes is a great player, but when you just think about like the overall contribution for the season last year, I just feel like Christian McCaffrey was the best player in the NFL.
Right. I mean, I remember the game where he threw for a touchdown, received a touchdown, and ran in for a touchdown.
Yeah, that was his first proper game for the Niners against the Rams.
Which was ridiculous. The only reason I had Mahomes ahead of McCaffrey, because McCaffrey does have a brilliant supporting cast. Debo, Kittle, not a bad O-line, not a bad quarterback, and Ayuk, and then you got Jennings, so he's got a really good cast around him. Mahomes literally dragged that team to the playoffs, and through to the Super Bowl. Him and Andy Reid worked wonders with that team to somehow get that team to win the Lombardi again. That's my only reason I had him. We say quite a bit is 1A, 1B. It is pretty much that. And I think if Niners won the Super Bowl, I think I probably would have had McCaffrey at number one. But the fact that it is literally was down to that at the end of the day. I could have sat there and flipped a coin, and whoever won out of 100 is like, oh, okay, I'll go for that one. That's how I went about it. I mean, Shane, you had him a bit lower down. Obviously, you had Lamar at number one. You said you had Tyreek at number two. You've given fairly good, valid reasons for it, I think. Go back at it. But that is it.
What I would say about CMC, when he went to the Niners, it was like Mbappe going to Real Madrid. You've got a player of that character who's a global superstar and fantastic in his position, go into a team that's got strength everywhere. It's the rich getting richer, and he's played out of his skin for him. Fair play to him.
The thing that makes me laugh is I remember ESPN ranked the trade for the Niners a C-, and the quote was, "The Niners will come back to regret this trade."
Yeah.
I mean, going back at it, looking at that season, that was probably your missing piece.
Yeah, 100%. He changed the offense.
Yeah. So it has been very much the Phil Perrins show this week, and it is going to carry on because he has had. You've spoken a hell of a lot this week, and I love it, mate. He has had this week's question of the week. You might have seen it. It was in his boudoir, shall we say?
It was a sexy question, wasn't it? Cue the porn music. It was a sexy question.
Hold on, gents. Keep talking for a little bit. Huh?
Did you have pants on?
Yeah. I was in bed. Because initially when you guys messaged me, I was like, all right, I'm just out at the moment, and then I literally had listeners a load of abuse from
you did.
From Shane, literally go, do your thing, do your question. I'm
Shift
literally
yourself,
out.
man.
So as soon as I got back, and as soon as I got back, I literally had a shower and then I did my question of the week. And I did think at the time, oh, should I put a shirt on No, I didn't. No, I didn't. Because I went and got like a new tattoo done this week, so I literally just did that. All right, so I'm just going to read out my question in a second, unless you want to play the video. Where is it? Because I wrote it down.
No, because of obvious reasons.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Where's Grant past the watershed now?
Hold on.
Hello, ladies.
Oh God, oh. Okay, hold on. I literally saved in my notes and now I can't find it.
You take your time, yeah.
Yeah,
while you're doing that, there's a reason for my Beast in Black hat. I'm going to Bloodstock on Sunday to see Beast in Black and Night Flight Orchestra. If you can make it, please come along. It'll be a brilliant, brilliant day. Just trying to kill some time.
Our Architects playing Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
The headline Saturday night, are they? Nice.
Yeah, I'm on a Martha headline on Sunday.
So, lads, well, should we talk about different football? The Football League season starts this
Yes,
Saturday?
we can. Yes, we can.
I believe Cheltenham are playing Newport, so we've got a little.
Yes, they are. I took a fiver on that with my buddy, I think.
Yeah, you can have a fiver off me.
You can have a fiver on that one,
Although saying that, if Cheltenham played like they did against Northampton, you ain't gonna have a hope now, mate. First half against Northampton, they were superb. They were really, really good. Cheltenham were incredibly good. And then obviously subs, bringing players in. The lad who we've signed, who was on trial, Bereka, oh my God, he won everything in the air. He was big, he's strong, he composure on his feet. As Shane Phil's taking his time, I know the question. And the question was...
Go on.
We obviously had the Hall of Fame game last week, which we haven't talked about actually, but we'll talk about preseason.
It was awesome. I loved it.
Well, we loved three quarters of it till the
rain stopped.
So Phil's question was, who is the youngest inductee, or who was when they were inducted to the Hall of Fame? Ladies and gentlemen, do we have any answers?
I do. I have the answer in front of me.
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
Right. I've had a couple of guests. We've had obviously Jim Brown.
No, Jim Brown is number 2. He was inducted at the age of 35.
Yeah.
Wow.
Someone said OJ Simpson, but I don't know if that was
OJ was 38 when he went into the Pro Bowl Hall of Fame. He was still a popular name in Hollywood in the Naked Gun series.
In the very underrated Naked Gun series.
He was originally who James Cameron wanted to play the Terminator in the 1984 classic, The Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I did originally think when I was looking, I've got the answer in front of me because I brought it up in front of me. I did actually think it was like Barry Sanders or maybe Eric Dickerson, that kind of age. But I was thinking most NFL players are going into the early 30s. It's going to be 38, 39. Troy Aikman, a 39-year-old, when Walter Payton was 39 as well. Who was the youngest player inducted into the Hall of Fame?
It was a man by the name of Gale Sayers.
Gale Sayers, yes.
Gale Sayers. He was a running back who absolutely crushed it. He won Rookie of the Season in his first season in the NFL. His first game, he ran 2,000 yards over the 49ers, who at that time period weren't particularly great in the 1960s. And
not particularly great in the 2000s.
You're not now.
Oh, look at that. So much talk coming from people that haven't been to the Super Bowl in over a decade.
Whoa.
When was your last Super Bowl?
2019. When we beat the Rams.
Wow.
2019 when we beat the Rams.
Wow. So in the 2020s, you haven't been to the Super Bowl. Wow.
Hey, there's still 6 years left yet, mate.
He had to retire early. Because of significant knee injuries, again, playing certain positions in the NFL. It takes more wear and tear on your knees than you could possibly imagine. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame at the age of 34. As a counter question, gents, who is the oldest inductee into the NFL Hall of Fame?
I've got the answer in front of me, so I'll let the gentleman have a guess.
You should have kept that for next week. You should have kept that for Monday.
I mean, I can, but I've got others. Yeah.
I mean, look at Gale's career. 5-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, 2-time rushing leader, NFL scoring leader, 60s All-Team decade.
Yeah.
Chicago Bears retired his jersey number, comeback player of the year in 69, and offensive rookie of the year in 65. He had a hell of a career.
Yeah.
The only thing missing was the old Lombardi ring.
And it's such a shame sometimes, and this is where I get really, really passionate about it, because we love the NFL and we love talking about modern NFL, and I think that's the thing that I love most about our friendship between the four of us, is that our interests in the NFL go through different eras while we're still watching it in the present day. So I've always been obsessed with the 70s and the 80s of the NFL and the early 90s. The mid to late 90s, early 2000s, so. But then you look at the prime dynasty years of the Patriots and the Steelers and the Colts between Big Ben and Manning and Brady, and you've got the defense, and you've got the Legion of Boom years later, and then I love that kind of thing. So it's great that we can talk about this. But the 1960s, even for me, you can talk about Broadway Joe for the New York Jets, but and the Packers, the huge history that the Packers will bore you to death with, and even the Chicago Bears as well. It's just such an era of the NFL that people forget that there were great players in that era that put up numbers that are better than some of the players that we consider elite players today, but we don't know about because it doesn't really get talked about. And that's where the beauty of, I guess, of NFL films is so beneficial to us, because we get to dip in and dip out of all these different eras.
Exactly that. I quite often sit there and watch the NFL films back in the day, and it's God, they wear these leather helmets, not these massive helmets that they wear nowadays. It's the leather helmets and some they don't even face masks.
Yeah. Well, some of the, if you look in the 70s with Stickum, and they're literally just covered in this tar glue, and you're oh, what is that? It's shocking that he got banned.
What is that? So charismatic.
Yeah, honestly, look up Stickum, and then you just look at some of the players, and literally they're just covered. They're covered.
Just watching America's game from the 70s and 80s is incredible. How different
they end up fighting. They end up just fighting.
They do that in preseason anyway.
Yeah, but they would save it from being actually on the field. You just go back and watch some of the matches between the Dolphins, the Raiders, and the Steelers in that 70s, where they were the three best teams, because the AFC dominated the NFL in the 70s. Dominated. I think it was only the Cowboys winning one Super Bowl. The rest of the time it went to the AFC, and it was just split between the Steelers, the Dolphins, and the Raiders, and they just used to beat the. Hold on, what time is it? They used to beat the shit out of each other. It was amazing.
What time is it?
Mr. Parent is swearing. I'm going to tell Mummy. Right. As all, ladies and gentlemen, this podcast will be available to all your listening devices tomorrow morning when I get around to editing and putting it all up on the show. There's going to be quite a bit of editing this week. Shano's always got something to say, so Shano, fill me in, mate.
But I'm okay for this week. I just wanted to advertise, like I said, Bloodstock this weekend, but other than that, I've already said it. So yeah, take us home if you want to.
Sorry, I was just in a bit of state of shock then.
Dude, you were full of it this week, mate.
As always, gentlemen, thank you very much for tuning in, watching in, dropping your comments. As always, we thoroughly find it. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, good night and stay safe.